Hi, I'm Dave. Welcome to the channel. We haven't done this for a while, but say it with me. Today is a good day because today is a new Revoslot day. So yes, today is a new Revoslot day. Well, in fact, this is the new Revoslot that I bought when I was at Slotfest. And it isn't even a new Revoslot. I think they came out last year. And I went through a little bit of a phase of buying lots of Revoslots, and then I just didn't for a bit. The last one I bought was this one. And I think that was probably about, I think the gap's about 9 months here between buying this and buying this. So the people who say this is a Revoslot channel, yeah, it was. It will be again, but it hasn't been for a bit. We'll change that now, just slightly. So what did I buy? Well, it is a Lister Storm. More specifically, it's the Motec sponsored Lister Storm, which was driven by Julian Bailey and Tiffany Dell. And I was looking at it, and as you can see from the obligatory notes here, there was a blue one on the shelf, there was a yellow one on the shelf. And me and a couple of other people, including the guy at Pendle, had a discussion about which one. And we both decided that, in fact, we all decided unanimously that the yellow one was the best. I wasn't sure to start with, but I talked myself into it, and so did the other two guys. So that's the one I got. Now, you know, it goes without saying, it's a Revoslot, so you get 2 stickers, some spare wing mirrors, which are not fitted to the car, are they? Oh yes, they are. These are just extra black ones. Okay. There's a magnet and a deep wood guide. I don't advise that, either of it. And the usual wonderful list of parts with the hop-up parts on the back. So, why did I get a Lister Storm? I have to say, this is not really my kind of car. I like, as you well know, my slot cars to be based very much on road cars. And this is very much a purpose-built GT car. However, I had a silver box craving and it needed to be dealt with when I was at Slotfest, so that is what happened. I bought a Lister Storm not because I'm interested in the car, but because I thought it stood a very good chance of breaking the lap record on this track. Now, I have no idea if it will or not. We'll find out in a little while. I suspect it'll get close if it doesn't break it. A reason for that is this car, being the next most modern Revoslot I've bought, bearing in mind that these cars, the gears and everything is improved incrementally over time. But this car is wicked fast, and it has the different sized front and rear wheels. And so does this one, and I think that may help a bit. Now the other thing is, it's slightly longer, and it's definitely much wider. This car is fast, but it's second. This car still holds the lap record on this track. This is a regular 911 with the Night and Day Repsol livery on it. It's a great car. This track suits this kind of car because it's quite stubby and wide. It has a wide track at the front. because of the twisty bits and there are no long straights, Revoslots tend to do well. Wide Revoslots tend to do very well. Now, this car is slightly longer. The Storm is slightly longer than the 911, and it is wider than the 911, front and back. It just is. It's big. So, in theory, this is modern. It did well. It has the different size front and rear wheels. This is very wide. This has all of the best ingredients of what makes this car fast on this track and what makes this car fast on this track. So we'll give it a go. But first off, we should probably put it on the turntable, have a better look at it, and have a little bit of history about Lister, and specifically the Storm GT. So here we are, the Lister Storm GT in green and yellow Motec livery. Now, I've looked at this car. The detail on it is absolutely exquisite. I mean, we know Revoslot fit and finish and detail is always good, but the detail on those side exit exhausts, the grills that are behind those air vents on the trailing edge of the front wing, those two horns in that central bonnet air intake, just everything. It's so detailed. It really, really is. This one is, and okay, I know it's the most recent car I've bought from Revoslot, but this one really is kind of shifting the bar up again in terms of the levels of detail. I mean, look once again, just in the front there. That pair of intakes in that triangular bit, it's gorgeous. And then they go to all of that trouble, and yet when we come round and we look at the door latch, it's just kind of moulded in and badly detailed. They've let themselves down just there. Everything else is brilliant in every way. And although I'm not particularly familiar with this car, I have checked, I've looked at all the pictures, and all of the livery is spot on. All of the details are right. Everything is definitely in the right place. So let's have a little chat about this car, or rather the origins of this car, and indeed the Lister company. Lister Cars was originally set up in 1954 in Cambridge by Brian Lister and produced sports cars and did tuning services for others well into the 1960s, before their demise, I think, had all something to do with the Roots Group going down, and there were financial issues and they took a load of people. Anyway, maybe that's for another video. Back to Lister, which reappeared in 1986 as Lister Cars Limited, starting initially with engineer Lawrence Pierce tuning up Jaguar XJS's and selling them off with a hefty price tag, at the time round about £100,000 for a Jaguar XJS that was tuned by Lister. They did so well at this, they decided to design a completely new sports car, the Lister Storm. Launched in 1993 with a massive 7-litre V12 modified Jaguar XJR9 engine, the first 2 years of production saw this as a road car before evolutions of the car for track came along. The Storm GTS came out in 1995, the GTL in 1997, and they were entered by private teams in the GT Championships. And finally, the Storm GT in 1999. Now, 1999 also saw Lister announce that they would contest every round of the GT Championship as a team for the first time. Lister Storm Racing Team finished 5th in the Team Championship with 13 points. The series was dominated, however, by the Chrysler Viper Team Oreca car of Olivier Beretta and Carl Wendlinger. That car won all bar one race when it finished second instead of winning, and the two cars in the team finished 1 and 2 on 6 separate occasions out of the 10-round series, so it was totally dominated by them. This particular car ran in both the FIA GT Championship and the British GT Championship in 1999, usually piloted by Julian Bailey, Bobby Verdon-Roe and Tiffany Dell. The depiction of this car in this exact livery from the Silverstone race didn't do very well. It actually retired at the Silverstone race, but it did go on to finish second in the Donington race later that year, which was the best result for this chassis. This car then moved to Spain and was raced in the Spanish GT Championship in 2000 with up and down varied success before ending up in Brazil, where it was driven in the Milhas Brasileiras. I'll try that again. The Milhas Brasileiras until 2006 in the more familiar kind of black Lister Storm livery. The car in this livery, however, seems to have featured in Gran Turismo, so I guess that's why they've picked it and done this for this car. Well, it's a lovely livery. Nice one, Revoslot. Good work. So here we are then. The one other thing is, the more I look at this car, the more I love that brutal front end. It's just so kind of wide and flat, and it's very menacing. It really is. Right, now I have to confess, I have already run this car, but not on my track. When I bought it at Slotfest, I went into that room that had the big 6-lane track in it, and people were running cars around, and somebody said, well, use one if you like, and I picked up a Revoslot, and then, yeah, I had to go back and buy this one, and I bought it. And I did go over it. Somebody lent me some tools. I went over it, made sure everything was tight, set the gear mesh, and ran a few laps with it. And it did seem pretty rapid at that point. So it's not the first time I've opened this, but we'll carry on anyway. I didn't do a huge amount of tuning on it. Literally oiled things, set the mesh, and that was my lot, really. There is much more to do to this car. First off, well, you know, the interior is the usual little lightweight thing, but it's rattly, so as is always the case with the inside of a rattly Revoslot, or indeed the inside of a rattly anything, a little bit of foil tape goes a long way. That's loads better already. No noises. Excellent. So onto this. Now I'm not going to do the full Slot Car Hub Revoslot tune on this at the moment. If you want to see a really good video on what to do to these cars to make them run really well, go to Slot Car Hub's channel and look it up. There is a Tuning 101 from Slot Car Hub. But what I am going to do is deal with this not very good front axle. The chances are these two posts are not in straight, and there's no movement here, so I think those front wheels might be pinching ever so slightly. So I'm going to just slacken these off. Not a lot, just tiny amount. Let's see what that's done to it. Well, that's immediately better, so let's just nip those back up evenly. I won't do them fully tight just yet. So things are better. So I'll give that a bit more of a tighten, just to make sure they're not coming out again. Now it's possible that these wheels are pinching slightly, so I just slacken off one of them. Again, that's improved it a bit. And I will just put a bit of extra oil in each side there. Now that's by no means perfect, but it is considerably better. What you should do, what the Aussie guys do, is pop the bearings out of these bearing holders, sit them in some isopropyl alcohol for a few days, let all of the thick, sticky factory grease that's in these bearings out, and then re-oil them with a fine oil like a sewing machine oil. And then that'll spin beautifully. But it's okay for now for me. The back, well, I did set the gear mesh up before, and I did pop a spot of oil on it at the time, but I will just a little more now, and a little dot on the back of there. I know some people say you shouldn't do that. I might even do a dot on the front as well, and people say you shouldn't do that either, but I always do. And nothing's exploded yet. There is slight side play there, so I know nothing is pinching. I will just do what I did with the front and slacken off. Oh, that was tight. Just to line the axle up nicely in the bearings, because the chances are when this car was put together, they put these in first and then put the axle in. They didn't probably put it all together. Well, they pretty certainly, judging by the front one, didn't put it all together and then screw it to the chassis. If they did that, if you're watching Revoslot, probably save me a job. And the rest is pretty good. I will do what I always do, which is get a little bit of electrical tape, and I'll just put it across each side of this to stop this from making a clicking noise as it goes around the corners. Other than that, I don't know about you, I just want to give it a run really. We'll see how quick it goes, and if it's getting close to setting a lap record, then I might do a bit more tuning on it and see if we can get the extra margin that we need off it. Maybe later, maybe in another video. This video's going on a bit now, isn't it? Right, let's go to the track and see if we can set a time. A bit of tape on there first. Here we are. Now that will still move, but it won't click so badly. It dampens it out a little bit. It really does help. Trust me on this one. I don't like these braids, but I'll leave them in for now. They probably do the job. The other thing I should mention while I'm here is this car is drilled. We'll take a standard Carrera digital chip. I tend to squidge them in with a bit of blue tack when I want to put one in. I don't particularly on this one. I'm going to run it as analog. I have also got a full Revoslot playlist of all my Revoslot cars. Some of them I put a chip in, some of them I don't. So there'll be a link right at the end of the video in the other things to watch section that most people probably don't usually get to. But there'll be a playlist there for all of these Revoslot cars on this channel. Right, track time. Okay, so this is fresh out of the box with just that little bit of fettling that I did that you saw. On the track, haven't really done anything to set the front axle height or anything. I've got it in lane 1, which is the one I use for timing, and I have got the timing screen hopefully visible to you up in the corner there. So let's do some laps and see what happens. I don't know, let's start with 10 and see how we go. Well, 6.265 out the box, bearing in mind that I haven't really tried to run very fast laps on this track or really driven a Revoslot on this track for a while, is pretty good going. I'm going to have a bit more of a tune up of it. I'm going to have a bit more of a play, and if I can get a faster lap in, I will. If not, there might be another video where we do a bit more of a deep dive and a bit more of a tune and a fettle, like Slot Car Hub and the Aussies do. So I did 75 laps, and in the end, probably by about lap 40, I managed a 5.492 second lap, which is exactly 0.2 seconds off the all-time track record set by this here Porsche. Now, there is more work to do here. This is still in standard trim, and I've just kind of remembered how to drive quickly on this track, having not attempted to drive quickly on this track for a long time. There is work to do here. We will find those 2/10 and probably more in another video. In terms of this car, should you get one? Yes, I think you should. I think this Lister Storm is a real blast, especially if you've got a more twisty, tight track rather than some of these bigger tracks that some people have. I think that will suit you well on a twisty track. So yes, I recommend you get a Revoslot Lister Storm. So how am I going to find the extra 0.2 of a second? Well, this car is fresh out the box, so the motor's still pretty fresh. I could do with breaking it in a bit more. That would free it up, get it revving more freely. And of course I could do with a little bit of car polish on the gears and run those and get that to mesh just that little bit better. Possibly I'll do the Aussie bearing soak with the alcohol, and I might put a shim or two under the front guide because those front wheels are a little bit too firmly planted on the track for my liking. And of course, just putting in some more laps because I'm terribly out of practice. I think that car could be the first one into the 5.1s on this track. That would be very impressive. If I do that, however, I am going to revisit that Porsche 911 again. And maybe that Marcos. Anyway, as I said before, I think you should get one of these. They're a lot of fun. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch one of my videos. If you liked it, you will find a button specifically for that. Please subscribe to the channel, it's free and it really does help. And if you hit the bell, you'll get a notification the next time I post a video.